birthday to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Serious question. Being at this milestone age, what what words of wisdom?
Get the mic back.
What words of wisdom would you seriously have as you look back over your life for this upcoming generation, and just maybe things that you've learned over your time?
Well, you don't have enough time for all the things I've learned. It's, I mean, you do. If you pay attention, you learn an awful lot. And, I just can't tell you how much. I mean, part of it is, choosing the right people to embrace in your life, and making your family important, and being who you are, and work at whatever it is you do, I guess. So, but there's just a ton of things that you learn by having good people in your life. That I learn something every day from good people.
Absolutely. What are the plans tonight? How do you celebrate his 75th birthday?
I'll be right here.
Doing what?
Doing what we always do. Yeah, we'll be evaluating film after our practice, and practice tape, and then Oklahoma tape. So same old.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I mean, they don't let you off work when you have a birthday, do they? No.
I know they haven't been perfect, but your defense has really been playing well the last 3 games after kind of a rough start. I'm wondering what they're like to deal with on a day-to-day basis, in practices and meetings, and what you think of their improvement so far.
Well, I think it, excuse me, it has been somewhat consistent, and that's what we hope for. They're easy to work with because they work hard on the practice field. They're committed to their preparation, and they are committed to trying to improve, day in and day out. So, good group of young guys.
Coach, let me take you back to Fritch's topic here real quick. I've always wanted to ask you this. You've never hidden the fact that you started off kind of, I mean, you went to Missouri, you left there, went to William Jewell. You didn't start you weren't Bill Snyder the whole time as we now know him. Was there a point when you realized, I got to lock in, I got to get a lot more focused on what I want out of life than what I currently am doing?
Well, when I left high school and went to the University of Missouri, went to Columbia, I mean, I wasn't a loose cannon by any stretch of the imagination. I wasn't smart enough for that. But it probably the major turning point for me might have been when I left the University of Missouri, because I wasn't doing well in the classroom. That's been broadcast. And went back to my hometown, St. Joseph. That's when the fellow that was at William Jewell, Norris Patterson, who was a long-time athletic director and football coach at William Jewell, came to see me and said, we would take you at William Jewell, and here are the things that you need to do. And most of it was directed towards academics and so on, but there were some other things as well, and that had an impact on me. But as I said so many times, it's we're the what was the defining moment? Probably there were so many of them, because I've said so many times. I mean, my mother was the true guiding light in my life, and she was there from forever. So I think any good things that I've learned have certainly come from her.
The fact that you can so easily point to Coach Patterson and his influence, does that trace back to the importance of mentoring in your life, that you can so easily pick out someone who might have helped change the course of your life?
Yeah, and there are a lot of people like that had a very positive impact. all my life, and some people even, aside from my mother, some people prior to Norris Patterson as well. But you know, I was getting a little older, entering college at that time, or was in my first year of college, so you know, it was time to grow up. But there are all kinds of people that you know, whether they've been in this profession or have some other involvement, just a lot of people. Yeah.
Coach, when you look at your running game on film, what are some of the things that you like from your running backs, and what are the things that maybe you see they're, I guess, less than desired?
Well, we had really done a nice job of maintaining possession of the ball without turnovers until, you know, we had one turnover in the ball game. So, you know, that's up and down situation. But they had been very, very good, you know, up to that one turnover, and I appreciate that about them. I think they, you know, they play hard. You know, they're good at you know, trying to get the extra yardage after contact. And they're doing a nice job of, you know, being where they're supposed to be, doing what they're supposed to be doing. In other words, the discipline of understanding what their involvement is, and schematically, you know, executing what they're supposed to be doing. I think there's a lot of areas that you know, that can be improved upon. Certainly, you know, we need to improve our pass protection. We probably need to improve everything. I mean, that's just ongoing. You know, and I'd like to see some, you know, some more breakaway opportunities for them, but that's not always in their hands. You know, sometimes that, or more often than not, that's going to be dependent upon, you know, blockers, whether it's linemen, receivers, or what have you.
You have a long stretch of games coming after this bye week. What is the, I guess, the benefit of having a week to maybe regroup, you know, maybe heal some wounds and get going for the middle stretch of the season?
Well, you know, as I've said so many times, you know, let's talk after the Oklahoma game and we'll see whether there were benefits or not. I think the things you mentioned are things that are certainly viable. You know, certainly you have an opportunity to, you know, get rested a little bit. You have an opportunity to recover from, you know, some nicks and bruises. You have a longer period of time of preparation. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could say that would seemingly be a benefit to having an open week, but you know, there's probably an equal number of things that can be said on the other side of the argument as well. And you know, the biggest part of that is, you know, do you lose the continuity of, you know, the routine and day in and day out preparation and being able to get, you know, games on the field back to back, you know, where there's a familiarity with, you know, Saturday games. So we'll see.
Nick Walsh is among the leaders in punting in the Big 12, and statistically it looks good, but what is he doing well that you like and performing in that job to step into that role?
Well, he's normally had one short kick last week, but normally he's he has consistency. You know, he can get the ball up in the air. That's a good thing. He's pretty consistent at, you know, he hits them about what his average is for the most part. You know, in the 42-yard range, some a little higher than that. He has the capability. I mean, he can get it out there, you know, really get it out there sometimes, but that's not always in your best interest. So I think it's just the consistency as much as anything. You know, just doesn't hit too many bad balls. Knock on wood.
Coach, Curry Sexton, can you break down what maybe his strengths are, and also how has his switch from the outside receiver into the slot helped him? Well,
you know, he can and does. You know, we can play him outside, play him inside. He can play any place across the board. You know, we you know, basically have 4 positions, and he can play play any one of them. Has a good understanding. I mean, his strengths are just having a tremendous working knowledge of the system, so to speak. He's good at understanding defenses and consequently recognizes opportunities for and how to create adjustments on the move. He's a good team guy. He's a good leadership type individual, and he's a good worker and a really good person. You know, just a neat young guy.
Coach, Danzel McDaniel, how is he graded out to this point when you rewatch tape of him, and what most stands out to you or catches your eye when you watch him play?
Well, he grades out well. You know, he's in the high 80, low 90 range week in and week out. Has gotten, I say week in and week out, it's elevated throughout the course of the season. So he's made that progress as he becomes more familiar with the system. I like his you know, his commitment to what he's doing. I mean, he's a young guy that really wants to be a quality player and is willing to make the commitment to work at it and does. So he's one of those guys that, you know, we talk about trying to get better every week, and he tries, you know, to do exactly that. And he's a pretty aggressive player as well, so in the right way.
His hit in particular on UTEP kind of had flashbacks back to Mario Smith against BYU. His hard-hitting mentality, how welcome is that? And I mean, he seems like one of the hardest hitters that you've had in quite a while.
Well, you know, I think it's you know, it's beneficial in regards to creating you know, an attitude about how you play, and it's beneficial to his teammates because it kind of rubs off on them as well. So, you know, that's a plus.
Coach, and looking at the film, was that Jake's best game that he had played so far this season? Not just statistically, but just overall.
Oh, I don't know. You know, he's continually made some progress. I couldn't tell you it's totally the best, but he played, you know, he played pretty well. You know, he's still got some things he's working on, but I don't know if it's the best or not.
Do you see the work ethic and that progression to get better? I mean, is it, you see that want to and that will to do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's ever present. You know, he's a very focused young guy. Has his moments, but you know, he truly is dedicated to trying to be the best he can be in a lot of different ways. You know, he wants to be a good teammate as well as a good player, and he wants to be able to be a good decision maker, which is really important for us as well. And that's an ongoing process. But yeah, he's doing well.
Coach Dylan Schellenberg got kind of thrown in when we saw Travis go down. How'd you think he did getting back in there and kind of assess where he's at right now?
He did well. You know, he's got a good understanding of what we do and how we go about doing it. He's awfully good about, you know, being in the right place at the right time. Just a you know, bright young guy. Studies the game. Has you know, a pretty good understanding of you know, whoever it is that you happen to be playing. Has a pretty good understanding, develops a good understanding of, you know, what they do and how they go about doing it.
What about just the pass defense as a whole? After you've seen it on film, what'd you like, what'd you not like?
Well, we had 5 snaps in the game that were 20-plus yards that created some problems for us. Probably a couple of incidents with the with our linebacker core. You know, it's just a matter of drop depth, so to speak. You know, how deep they were playing in the schemes, and then we had some breakdowns in the back end that created some problems for us. And that's what we'll spend a lot of time on today.
Yeah, going back to Morgan's interception in the end zone and now having seen it on tape, how do you feel he's improved the most, to make a quality play such as that? Is it kind of more being in the right spot at the right time, or do you think that was a lot of his ability to get himself there?
Well, it was, it is being in the right spot at the right time, but it's also, his willingness to learn. In the course of the week of practice, we were replicating basically the same scheme, not identical, but basically the same scheme, and his leverage on the receiver was inaccurate, and the pass was completed. And so he went through, the coaches, addressed him with it and changed his leverage, and the next play, as it was repeated, he successfully defended the play, and it was almost the identical play in the ball game that he intercepted, and it was because of how he leveraged the receiver. And so it was just being in the right place at the right time, but that it was part of the learning process for him. So that was good that he retained what he had learned.
Coach, going back to what you said about Jonathan and improving his angles last week, and then what you just said about Morgan, have you been impressed with the individual ability on the defense to make adjustments and change things and improve?
Well, yeah, as I indicated a little bit earlier, yes, I think they have improved. I think they are intent upon developing their craft, so to speak, and doing it collectively as as an 11-man team, if you will. So yeah, that's been very, very positive, and they're all invested in it, I think, seemingly.
Coach, what have you seen from Oklahoma, and what will you be watching this weekend as to how they respond from their loss on Saturday?
Well, I don't have any doubt about how they'll respond. I think they'll respond very favorably, but and we'll certainly watch. Again, we get the tape right after it's over, so you see it in its entirety without. I'm not good on commercials, so we'll get to see the coaching tape. But it's it'll be part of the process will be to assess that ball game in relation to the previous 4 ball games, in relation to last year. Try to script, have the capacity. I mean, offensively they can run it, they can throw it. Knight's completion percentage is down, but you look at the kinds of throws that he's making. I mean, those are the more difficult throw. I mean, in relation to last week's ball game with Texas Tech, I mean, Webb's throws are from me to you. And there are those 4 or 5 yard categories where you're just raising up and throwing it outside. You see Knight is casting the ball downfield where you really have to be on target, a little harder to complete. So when you look at things like yards per completion, that's rather extensive. So what they might lose in completion percentage, they certainly make up in the type of play, big plays, so to speak, that they get from throwing the ball downfield. They can run it. Running backs are hard runners. They get yardage on their own. They're quick enough to get outside as well. Knight can pull it down, and things are covered, he'll bring it down and he can bring it out. And he ran the ball against TCU this last week several times effectively. I think defensively they can. They're an odd front team, three-man front team, and but they have been. So they're getting better and better at it. I think they made the switch last year, and they're getting better and better at that. They've got some talented guys. They're big, they're physical, they can run. Their offensive line, I mentioned their offense offensive line is a big physical offensive line. I mean, they can, they can move people, and they're fundamentally sound at that as well. So, anyway, that's mouthful.
Yeah, going back, you mentioned it with Dylan a little bit, but I wanted to talk about your safeties unit as a whole, along with Dante and Travis. It sure seems like they've been a pretty big group in making some defense improvements this year, whether it be against the run. It really seems like they've come up and hit their spots well. Just, how have they graded out? It sure seems like they've been improved as a whole this year.
Well, that's probably a reasonably accurate statement. As I mentioned before, we had some difficulties in the passing game on 3 or 4 occasions this last week that evolved around those positions. Aside from that, they have played well, and if you take those 4 or 5 away, then you could say yes, they've gotten better week in and week out. But you can't take those 4 or 5 snaps away. You got to do something about getting it right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one more. I'm sorry.
His kind of coming out party was that corner blitz that turned out that he said Coach Hayes didn't even call. He read the formation wrong and went in there. He said afterward, Coach Hayes was like, "Yeah, that, you messed up, but that was a hell of a play." What was, when you went back and looked at that? I mean, what did you think of that play in particular from him, and what kind of maybe coming out party of sorts was that for Danzel McDaniel at K-State?
Well, you doggone well better make the play if you can do that. Because if you don't, you better go to the other sideline and not mine. So